Welcome to Knowledge Reloaded. What if the only way to stop social media algorithms from completely fracturing our society was to, well, permanently outlaw private business?
That is quite the proposition.
Right? And to take it a step further, draft every single citizen into a state-run industrial army.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like trading a corporate dystopia for a totalitarian one, but that is exactly the tension we're examining today by pairing two radically different texts separated by over a century.
Exactly. On one hand, we have Edward Bellamy's highly influential 1887 Utopian novel, Looking Backward. Bellamy argued that unregulated, profit-driven capitalism is a fundamentally antisocial system.
A seller fungus, I think he calls it.
Yes, exactly. And his solution was to eliminate money entirely, nationalize all industry, and basically turn the nation into one giant cooperative syndicate.
Right. And we are placing Bellamy's 19th century economic blueprint alongside a distinctly modern horror story, which is Max Fisher's The Chaos Machine. Fisher documents exactly how big tech's algorithms prey on our deepest psychological frailties.
It's terrifying, really.
It is. They turn human outrage into a mechanism for generating engagement and ultimately ad revenue.
So our central question today is this. When profit-driven systems dominate and destabilize society, whether through 19th century sweatshops or 21st century algorithmic manipulation, does the true solution lie in Bellamy's complete nationalization of industry?
And we're coming at this from very different angles.
We are. I will argue that Fisher's modern critique of big tech actually perfectly validates Bellamy's core thesis. True societal stability can only be achieved by removing the profit motive entirely and replacing private capitalism with a fully cooperative, state-run economy.
And my position is that while Fisher's critique of unregulated algorithmic capitalism is, well, it's terrifyingly accurate, Bellamy's proposed cure is essentially worse than the disease.
Strong words.
I mean it. A compulsory industrial army and a total state monopoly that merely replaces the chaotic manipulation of the free market with an equally dystopian, inescapable, and authoritarian homogenization of humanity.
I see why you think that, but to understand why Bellamy's extreme solution is actually necessary, you have to look at the exact mechanism of the problem, which Fisher lays out brilliantly in The Chaos Machine. Fisher doesn't just say, social media is bad.
Right. He explains the mechanics.
Exactly. Tech titans operate with this blinkered focus on unfettered profits. To maximize those profits, they need engagement. They need you staring at the screen.
Right.
So they build recommendation algorithms that discovered, completely independently, that human beings stare longer when they are angry, terrified, or polarized.
The algorithms learn to weight outrage heavily. I mean, a furious response keeps you on the platform far longer than a passive like.
Exactly. The system deliberately drives users to extreme opinions, tribalism, and, as we've seen, real-world violence like the Capitol insurrection, simply because it generates more ad revenue.
It's extraction.
Yes, they are extracting human attention the exact same way 19th century industrialists extracted coal. Bellamy saw this exact same dynamic in 1887. He used this unforgettable metaphor of a massive lumbering coach on a hilly road.
Ah, the coach analogy.
Right. The masses of humanity are in the harness, dragging the wealthy few along, driven forward by the lash of hunger. The only difference today is that big tech has digitized the lash, and because the diagnosis holds true across centuries, Bellamy's solution remains the only logical endpoint.
Which is what, exactly? Just absolute state control?
What Bellamy calls the Great Trust. If the private consolidation of capital and the relentless pursuit of profit is the engine driving this chaos, well, you remove the engine.
Okay.
You make the nation the sole capitalist. You eliminate money completely. Every citizen receives an equal credit allowance simply based on their existence as a human being. By removing the financial incentive to exploit one another, you drain the swamp where these tech titans breed.
You're painting this great trust as a benevolent, frictionless provider, but you're ignoring the sheer terrifying mechanics of how Bellamy actually structures this society.
I don't think it's terrifying at all.
Fisher's entire book is a warning about the immense dangers of engineering human psychology at scale. My argument is that Bellamy's utopian society does the exact same thing, it just does it via the state rather than Silicon Valley.
How is guaranteeing every human being equal housing, food, and education psychological engineering?
Because of what is demanded in return. Look at the actual machinery of Bellamy's vision. He proposes an industrial army. Every single citizen is drafted from age 21 to 45.
It's civic duty.
But how does this service begin? With 3 years of stringent discipline as common laborers, where young people are explicitly taught obedience and subordination to the collective.
Well,
You cannot opt out. You are assigned a place, you are graded, you are monitored. If you trade the tyranny of the free market for the tyranny of a total state collective, you haven't solved the problem of human exploitation. You have institutionalized it.
you're confusing civic duty with exploitation there. Let's look at how Bellamy fundamentally reconstructs commerce, because it neutralizes the very manipulation Fisher warns us about.
I'm listening.
Bellamy argues that the act of buying and selling is essentially antisocial. It incentivizes fraud. So he replaces the marketplace with a direct distribution system. Walk me through what happens when a citizen in Bellamy's world actually needs something, because the mechanics are brilliant.
Right. There is no money. So if I'm a citizen and I need groceries or clothing, how do I actually get it without a clerk or a market signal to dictate production?
You go to a sample store. It's essentially an Amazon Go store, but owned by the public. Goods are beautifully displayed, but there's no inventory on site.
Right. It's all centralized.
Exactly. And crucially, there are no clerks trying to upsell you or advertise to you. You simply punch your order using your equalized credit card. That order is transmitted instantly to a central warehouse, and the goods are delivered directly to your home via pneumatic tubes.
Very retro-futuristic.
It is. But because the nation is the sole producer, there is zero incentive to create shoddy goods, planned obsolescence, or trick a consumer into buying something they don't need. When you eliminate the profit motive, you eliminate the need for the behavioral algorithms Fisher exposes.
Because there's no ad revenue to chase.
Exactly. No one needs to keep you scrolling to serve you ads because there is no ad revenue.
You've eliminated financial fraud, yes, but Bellamy's cure for monopolies is simply the ultimate inescapable monopoly.
It's a public monopoly.
But if Fisher's work teaches us anything, it's that we should be terrified of concentrated power. We currently fear the power of Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube to control information, shape reality, and dictate the terms of commerce, right?
Sure.
So why in the world would the solution to that fear be surrendering all capital, all media, and all physical production to a single government syndicate?
Because a private board of directors answers to shareholders. A government syndicate in Bellamy's model answers to the people.
The mechanism of control is still absolute, though. Think about network effects in Fisher's text. Why don't people just leave Facebook or YouTube?
Because everyone else is there.
Exactly. The network effect traps them. Now, apply that to Bellamy's world. To escape Bellamy's single economic system is, in his own words, literal suicide. There is no outside economy.
Because the state provides everything.
But you cannot go off the grid, farm your own land, or start a competing cooperative. The state is the sole employer and the sole provider of the food coming through those pneumatic tubes. You have taken the inescapable network effects of a digital platform and applied them to physical survival.
Well, I think
That concentration of power doesn't neutralize manipulation, it gives the state a monopoly on it.
But why assume the state in Bellamy's world operates with the predatory psychology of a modern tech corporation? This is where Bellamy's view of human nature completely upends the modern cynicism we see in the chaos machine.
How so?
Bellamy believed human nature is fundamentally good. He describes greed and malice as the cellar fungi of capitalism. Those traits only grow in the dark, damp conditions of artificial scarcity.
Wait, you think poverty is the sole cause of human malice?
I think the terror of poverty drives the worst of human behavior. If you guarantee survival, human gangs naturally want to contribute. And Bellamy doesn't use the threat of starvation to motivate people to take hard jobs. He uses time.
Time as a currency?
Yes, it's a brilliant mechanical fix. In a moneyless system, How do you get someone to mine coal instead of working as a clerk? You equalize the attractiveness of the jobs by adjusting the hours.
Right.
An arduous job like mining might have a workday of only 10 minutes, while lighter administrative work has longer hours. It's perfectly balanced by volunteer rates.
Okay, but what if they refuse to volunteer? If they refuse to pull their weight in this industrial army?
Then they're put in solitary confinement on bread and water. Yes.
Wow.
But Bellamy argues that would be incredibly rare, akin to a severe mental illness, because the system is deeply moral. Look at his invalid corpse. The sick, the disabled, and the mentally unwell receive the exact same income and dignity as the strongest worker.
That is a noble aspect of it, I'll admit. Bellamy explicitly states that the only coin current is the image of God. That is a level of moral superiority and true freedom from the anxiety of survival that capitalist systems fundamentally cannot provide.
I'm glad you brought up motivation, because this is where Bellamy's entire utopia collapses into the exact dystopian reality Fisher warns us about. Bellamy has a dangerously naive view of human psychology.
I disagree.
The chaos machine is entirely predicated on the fact that humans possess deep, hardwired psychological frailties. We are evolutionary wired for status competition, tribalism, and social validation. These aren't just cellar fungi caused by a lack of money.
They are exacerbated by it, though.
Maybe, but they are human nature. Bellamy thinks that removing financial poverty magically fixes this, but let's look at how he actually motivates his industrial army since there is no money.
He motivates them with public honor and a desire to serve.
He motivates them with gamification. Let's be precise about the mechanics here. Workers in Bellamy's society are constantly graded by their superiors.
For efficiency.
They are separated into first, second, and third grades. They are required to wear physical badges, iron, silver, and gilt, to publicly denote their rank and productivity in the industrial army. It is a society driven by constant public grading and emulation.
It's just a system of recognition.
Now look at Fisher. Fisher warns us about digital platforms that quantify human social value through likes, retweets, and follower counts, which drives people to extreme, sometimes psychotic behaviors to maintain their status.
A retweet is not the same as a badge of honor for serving your community.
Psychologically, it leverages the exact same vulnerability. Bellamy has constructed an entire physical society based on a universal, lifelong status game where your worth is publicly categorized by the state.
Well,
You are perpetually terrified of being demoted from silver to iron. He didn't cure the human vulnerability to status anxiety. He weaponized it as the foundational engine of his state economy.
I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective. You are equating public honor for genuine civic duty with the shallow, outrage-driven metric of an algorithmic like button. They are completely different mechanisms.
Are they?
Yes. Think of Bellamy's system like a modern public utility. We do not rely on warring, profit-driven warlords to provide our municipal water supply. We organize it collectively, scientifically, for the public good, because water is essential to life.
True.
So why shouldn't human attention, human labor, and the distribution of basic needs be treated as a public utility?
Because water doesn't have an opinion. Humans do.
But Fisher is warning us about the chaos that occurs when human connection is privatized and strip-mined for ad revenue. Bellamy is simply saying, make the economy a public utility, and you eliminate the incentive to exploit people. The badges are just an organizational tool, not a manipulative algorithm designed to make you hate your neighbor.
But look at what happens to the dissidents in that public utility. If the city controls the water and you anger the city, you die of thirst.
That's a bit dramatic.
It brings us to a fatal flaw in Bellamy's design, the capacity to correct systemic defects. Fisher's narrative relies heavily on heroic outsiders and Silicon Valley defectors. These are the whistleblowers who realized the algorithms were pushing genocidal content in Myanmar or radicalizing youth on YouTube.
Right.
In our current decentralized world, as flawed as it is, these defectors can step outside the system. They can leave the company, find an independent publisher, go on a press tour, and write a book exposing the machinery.
They can only do that if a private publishing conglomerate believes their whistleblower book will be profitable.
Yes, but there are multiple conglomerates. There are independent presses. There are decentralized platforms. There is an outside. In Bellamy's world, the government controls all the paper, all the ink, and all the printing presses.
But the government is the people.
Your livelihood, your housing, your very existence is intrinsically tied to your standing in the industrial army. If a citizen realizes that the Great Trust has a fatal flaw or that the grading system is corrupt, how does that defector survive? Walk me through the mechanics. How do you critique a system when the system is your sole source of food and media distribution?
Bellamy anticipates this exact challenge, actually, and his mechanical solution is infinitely more democratic than the illusion of a free press we have today.
Oh, really? How?
In his society, any citizen or group of citizens can pool their personal credit allowances to fund an independent publication. If a group wants to start a dissenting newspaper or publish a book critiquing the government, they simply pay the nation for the cost of the printing and the labor.
By docking their own strictly limited credit?
Yes, which proves they actually value the ideas they are supporting. And it goes further. They can pool their credit to legally release a person from the industrial army to serve as the editor or author.
Huh.
This democratic funding model removes the capitalist gatekeeper entirely. Right now, as Fisher exposes, media and speech are completely beholden to private capital and advertisers. A tech platform will suppress dissent or amplify outrage based solely on what pleases the algorithm.
Sure.
In Bellamy's world, if the people want to hear a voice, they fund it directly. The state has no power to censor the publication because the state is merely executing the mechanical function of printing what the citizens pay for from their own equalized credit.
You say the state has no power to censor, but you are completely ignoring that the state holds the absolute power of administration. You don't need to explicitly ban a book if you can destroy the author's life.
They wouldn't do that.
If an editor relies on the collected credit of a dissenting minority, and the state decides that this editor's work is disruptive to the industrial army's discipline, the state has a million levers to pull.
Such as?
The state is bound by law to print what is paid for.
But the state also assigns your job, your housing, and your rank. They can reassign the editor's supporters to more arduous labor. They can demote their standing from silver to iron. They can use the public gamification system to ostracize them.
Fisher's work demonstrates that whoever controls the architecture of the system controls the reality of the users. Bellamy's state controls the architecture of human survival. The defector is completely at the mercy of the collective's tolerance. There is no anonymity and there is no escape.
I think you are projecting the malice of a profit-driven monopoly onto a democratically controlled, cooperative society. The entire premise of Bellamy's world is that the solidarity of the human race has become a vital, practical reality.
Solidarity can be dangerous.
People wouldn't use the administration to crush dissent because they have outgrown the competitive, cutthroat mentality that capitalism forced upon them.
And I am arguing that Fisher shows us how easily solidarity can be engineered into tribal conformity. When Fisher describes how algorithms push users into homogeneous, radicalized groups, he is showing us the dark side of collectivism.
I see your point.
People conform because they are terrified of being cast out of the group. Bellamy demands an absolute homogenization of purpose. Everyone must march in the army. Everyone must wear the badges. Everyone must pull the coach together.
For the greater good.
If you refuse to pull the coach, you are put in solitary confinement until you consent. That is not freedom. It is an algorithmic echo chamber made physical.
It is the freedom from starvation. It is the freedom from poverty and the freedom from being exploited by a tech billionaire who views your psychological frailty as an untapped oil well.
I'm not defending the billionaires.
But you are so focused on the hypothetical risk of a heavy-handed state that you are ignoring the active, ongoing destruction Fisher is documenting right now.
I completely agree that Fisher's tech billionaires are operating extractively. They are mining human attention and destroying social cohesion. But trading a corporate overlord for a bureaucratic one doesn't solve the vulnerability of the human mind. It merely centralizes the authority that exploits it.
Well, as we step back to summarize our positions, I return to the undeniable reality that Max Fisher's terrifying account of algorithmic manipulation proves Edward Bellamy's core thesis. As long as human well-being, social connection, and attention are commodified for private gain, society will remain a ruthless, destabilized battleground.
It's a bleak picture.
It is. Fisher shows us the ultimate modern evolution of the profit motive, an invisible machine that fractures democracies and fuels violence just to sell ad space. Bellamy's vision of a cooperative, equal society where production is based on human need rather than private profit is not a dystopian fantasy. It is the necessary structural evolution.
Right.
By eliminating money and guaranteeing equality, we remove the very incentive to exploit our psychological frailties.
And to summarize my stance, while the ravages of big tech and unregulated capitalism are undeniable, Bellamy's industrial army serves as a profound cautionary tale, not a blueprint. Fisher warns us about the dangers of systems that engineer human behavior at scale, utilizing our deep-seated need for status and belonging to manipulate us.
Which is what you think Bellamy does.
Yes. Bellamy's solution is to build the ultimate behavioral engineering machine, trading the chaos of the free market for the rigid, inescapable obedience of a total state monopoly merely swaps one mechanism of psychological control for another. You do not cure the disease of algorithmic manipulation by forcing every citizen into a compulsory collective where individuality is subsumed by the state.
We have explored a vast and difficult terrain today. It seems we both agree that combining Bellamy's 19th century diagnosis of capitalism with Fisher's 21st century warnings offers a profound lens on our current crises. We agree that the commodification of human attention is deeply destructive.
We certainly agree on the severity of the crisis. The true challenge we are left with is finding a way to protect human frailties from exploitative, profit-driven systems without sacrificing human liberty and individuality in the process.
It leaves us to ponder whether economic equality and social stability must inherently come at the cost of personal autonomy. There's so much more to explore in these texts, and in the tension between them.
Indeed, there is.
Before we go, let us think back to that heavy, lumbering coach on the sandy road. For centuries, the debate has been about who gets to ride, who is forced to pull, and who holds the lash.
A haunting image.
But as we look at the algorithmic reins guiding us today, we have to ask, are we doomed to either pull the coach until we collapse or be strapped entirely and permanently into the state's harness? If this episode made you think differently, feel deeply, or take action, then the knowledge has reloaded.
See you next time.